So, oh my gosh, today's been an interesting morning so far. I've been reading about old people. I am one of them, and maybe you are too. Maybe that's why you're watching. So it was the first one was an older person saying, "Hey," who was I think it was in Mexico. He said, "Should we leave anything to people who don't visit us?" And I thought it was a no-brainer. No, of course not, because if they don't visit you, they don't care about you. That's it. So why should you leave them anything? There's a lot of people you can leave things to, I see every day. I see people who care way more about me than my blood relatives, and who have never visited me in Mexico. Notice a slight tinge of resentment there. I think Mexico is wonderful. So yeah, that's my answer to him. Then I read an article in the Guardian this morning about to an advice columnist, and the person was complaining about their 80-year-old father. They just sold the family house, and he has moved to an apartment in the city, and this person is extremely distressed because he's in good health. He's 80, is in good health, mentally and physically, but this person feels, and I don't know if it's a male or female, that if anything happens to him, when something happens to him, if anything happens, that the burden is going to fall on him, and they would like him to move to a retirement community. Oh my God. So the advice columnist said, well, what are you doing trying to make decisions for somebody's old age? And don't you think that your father might enjoy, is well aware of the possibilities of he might not be able sometime in the future, and wants to enjoy the time he has in the city, which is much more interesting, because apparently he thinks of himself as a man about town, which I love that expression. But there's a great deal more to do in the city than there is in the country, and I'm assuming in a retirement home. I find even in expat communities, they feel to me, a lot of the times, I've been staying in one for 3 months now, like retirement communities, like they have a game day on Thursdays. They have like country fairs where, I don't know, people sell things they don't want anymore to raise money for the dogs. Well, that is a good thing. But I lived in the city, and I'm moving back up to semi-city, where it's much easier to get into the city. You have to go to an event that are outdoors. I don't go to indoor events, I'm sorry, even though I wear a mask. I'm 84 and I plan to stay healthy. Which brings me to a major reason I moved to Mexico. I knew I could afford to live in the United States. I had plenty of money to live in I had enough money to live in the United States. What I didn't have enough money for was to get sick or to have a long-term illness. Because as we all know, the United States is not exactly generous when it comes to the elderly or when it comes to people who are sick or disabled in any way. Hello. And I thought, I'm going to go someplace where I knew that I could afford care if something were to happen to me. Now I'm 84. I live alone. I have no children, so I don't have any disappointments. Sorry about that. I have too many friends that are like waiting for their kids to come visit. Mm-hmm. They'll get there, Mom. They'll get there, Dad. When you're dead, they'll get there. So, that is a major reason that I moved here. And I think that, sure, I thought about, well, what if something happens? If I fall, the famous thing, I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, I've already fallen several times, but actually, and I could get up. Once I twisted, it was like I twisted my foot. I was asleep, and my helper at that time was about 5 or 6 years ago. He was down the street. He also does massages. He came over right away, and that took about a week to get. I had to wear a boot. I mean, I really hurt myself that time, and I had 2 stories, so I was stuck upstairs. It was really a big deal, but thank you. It wasn't a horrible, it wasn't broken or anything like that. And now I'm moving again. I've been in this expat community, and you have this semi-sense of safety here, but it's very, very difficult if you have a real emergency to get out of here, I can tell you. And we are actually 1 hour from the nearest, we're about 30 minutes from the nearest hospital, but 1 hour from the kind of hospital you want to go to if you have an emergency. And they basically prepare you to go to the United States, although I get all my medical care here in Mexico. So far, so good. Because I looked into Medicare. I went, oh, this is a joke, a bad one. You certainly do think about it, but you really can't. Can you really plan for disaster? We're not in a war zone. They're not dropping bombs on us, fortunately for us. So there's only so much planning you can do for uh, events you don't really want to occur. But eventually we all die, so that's going to happen. Um, and you can plan for it. But I always think about, why should I plan for other people's convenience? They can figure it out. I figured certain things out where put on my title who will inherit my property. If I still own it, I may sell it. Who knows? Of course, I just bought it and I haven't moved in yet, so I'm already thinking about that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say today. If you have people who don't visit you and don't call you when you call them, they don't care about you. Get over it. Move on. And if you think that, it'll be better for me to live. I know a woman who basically has a lot of problems. She has a cane. She has a heart that makes her faint on a regular basis. And she lives alone with her 4 dogs in Mexico. She's living up in town in Ensenada. She is living her day, living her life. Not living for, what'll I do the day I can't get up? Live your life every day. That's my advice for you today.